Clerk? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pete Ambrose, Ed Bateson, Mary McCullough, Keith Varian, Bill Gerber, Tim Lynch, Eric Newman, Cindy Perham, Heather Dean, Alex Durrell, Alexis Harrison, Robin Orris, Julie Gottlieb, Jen Hochberg, Phil Pierce, Liz Esma, Josh Garskoff, Ruth Smay, Carol Way, Jay Wolk, Matt Ambrose, Hannah Gale, Ray Newberger, Janice Solomon, Tom McCarthy, Mark McDermott, Jill Bergara, Karen Wackerman, Hank Ferentz, Pamela Iacono, Christine Messina, Pete Tallman, Brian Farnan, Drew Georgiadis, Ken Lee, Bill Perugini, Sam Cargill, Paul Fatabine, Michael Hurley, Eric Sunman.
Great, thank you. This is a continuation for our budget night 2. I want to take an opportunity to thank the Department of Public Works for setting up the room for us and the Bigelow Center for Senior Activities for hosting us this evening. We will be considering the proposed appropriations to the fiscal year July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017 as recommended by the Board of Finance for any lawful purpose and the amount to be determined by the Board of Finance. Tonight's discussion items include health and welfare, culture and recreation, public safety, and public works. First up, 6010 health. I see Mr. Cleary. This is page 264. Thank you.
Sure.
Any highlights you want to run through for the RTM this evening?
Essentially, my budget is 0.46 increase just due to salary and benefit obligations.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Cleary? Anybody from Public Health and Safety? We're all good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, 6050 Human and Social Services, page 269. Welcome, Mrs. Giegengak and Mrs. DeMarco.
Good
The
evening.
floor is yours.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the RTM for their past support to accomplish all the following highlights on behalf of the residents of Fairfield. I know you have the brief summary that I sent to the moderator for our open house, so if there's any questions, certainly let me know. But the highlights here, very briefly, are the Senior Center membership is growing by 14 new members per week. The membership has grown 36% this past year to a total of 2,674. Our national accreditation process was initiated this year with commission and community stakeholders. The purpose of the accreditation is to improve the quality of service and value delivered by the Senior Center to the community. A new lunch program has increased our usage for the lunch by 20% over the past year. Our expanded exercise program increased the number of classes by 30%. Our hours of operation continue to be extended on Thursday evenings and Saturday mornings. Due to the increased membership programming and extended hours, the department's budget for the fiscal year 2017 is requesting a part-time receptionist for minimum wage of $10.10, totaling $10,000, 241 for 1,014 hours. This person is the public's first contact when they walk in the front door. The continuity of a staff person familiar with the ongoing department programs and services will ensure accuracy of information, confidentiality, and support for the Senior Center's extended hours. I briefly, and I will not go through everything here, but we did present a poster board of all of the programs in 1 week that the volunteer is responsible for knowing about when people come in the front door or if they call. And it is a lot. And I will ask Julie just to show you, because the volume of information that we're asking our volunteers to keep up with on a daily basis, and they're new volunteers every day, is really a lot. And the concern is that we're going to have inaccurate information given out. So again, it's the number of the members that we're serving, but it's also the increased programming that makes it complicated for anyone to step into that role from 9 to 12 and to accurately give that information out. So that's the visual quickly. Social services did a few new programs this year, but essentially there were 148 new adult clients served in 2015. We are incorporating the veterans service needs together with the senior center so that we can have our monthly veterans program featuring a veterans resource specialist, and our social workers have taken courses in professional development to better serve the veterans. So we're looking forward to that enhancement of service to the veterans. Senior transportation, the third area of the Department of Human Services in Fairfield. In 2015, more than 14,000 rides were provided to Fairfield seniors. 3 buses are on the town roads daily, providing curb-to-curb service for the senior center, medical appointments, grocery shopping, library, barber, social services, and special events. The buses cover the 31 square miles of town, picking up and dropping off an unduplicated annual count of about 200 seniors who require transportation. The unique feature of our senior bus transportation is that we have our regular drivers, and we have the wheelchair accessibility. But it is the drivers that detect personal changes and identify problems before they occur and work closely with the senior center and social services staff. The drivers handle emergencies safely, they help with packages, offer friendly and warm-hearted greetings, and instill confidence with their courtesy and professionalism. The 5-year senior bus replacement schedule recommends that the 2005 Ford bus with 96,000 mileage in fair condition be moved into reserve for use when other buses are in for repair, inspection, and maintenance. This year's budget includes the capital outlay of $60,000 to purchase a replacement bus. In April, a grant will be submitted to the Department of Transportation to cover the partial cost of $30,000. It is available as long as it is wheelchair accessible. In conclusion, the department has 2 full-time staff members, including myself and an administrative assistant. The 16 part-time staff members include the senior center manager, Julie DeMarco, a program coordinator, social services, licensed social workers, bus drivers, bus dispatchers, and a coffee server. The director, myself, provides supervision for all staff, including the 2 part-time custodians from the Public Works Department. Briefly, I did break down for you, but I will do it again. The senior center takes $207,689 of the budget. Social services takes $202,000 and $244,000. Senior transportation is $237,823, bringing it to a total of $647,756. Perhaps the thing I'm most proud of, and just briefly, I did put this together for your benefit because I know you were interested in the grants that were being written on behalf of the department. I did receive grants, and I do have pending grants, but together with the grants, the gifts in kind, and the holiday donations and Salvation Army extra bell ringing, I'm really proud to say, and including volunteer hours, we have accrued $185,800 in gifts, grants, and donations. I have put in for 2 grants for $250,000 each for kitchen renovation, for the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, as well as the Community Development Block Grant Program. So I'm sorry to take up all the time, but I know that's what you were interested in, were the grant writing, and I feel proud that I was able to accomplish that this year. So any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Representative McDermott.
Mark McDermott, District 7. I think what you've done here is fantastic. I'd just like to say the grants, are those federal grants or are those from the state, or the two new ones you've applied for?
I believe that they, one is a state and one is a federal.
Thank you.
Representative Farnan.
Thank you so much for your being here tonight and helping explain your budgetary request. I am a little concerned with the 13.33% increase, and I was wondering if potentially for when we look at these numbers in the future, where we talk about new items like part-time payroll, an increase of 10,000 in the bus for 60,000, it has the percent change and there's basically a dash mark. It doesn't really pop out to people that that's really 100% change or increase. I don't know if that's something we could potentially look at in the future, but those are kind of things that kind of come to my mind when I see this.
Okay, so really you're looking for accounting clarification in the budget book. Okay. Thank you. We'll let the budget director know. Any other questions? Okay. Yep. Representative McCarthy.
The Senior Center has been a conduit for seniors in terms of taking advantage of senior tax relief, and participation last year dropped off, which is something members of this body are sort of concerned about. So, one of the things I hope that you'll continue to spread the word to, for those seniors who just spread the awareness so that anybody who can take advantage of relief certainly does. We're kind of scratching our heads why participation dropped off as we expanded elements of the program. And again, to the extent that the Senior Center, your group can help us there or help the seniors, that certainly would be worthwhile.
Right. We have publicized and had opportunities for the assessor's office to come over and talk about the senior tax relief. And I'm hoping that perhaps the commission may be able to help out with future plans. But yes, the social workers as well as the staff all know. And we are happy about the AARP tax assistance program having also the tax assessor's office there. But you're right, the numbers are the numbers. So
Yeah.
we'll see what this year is. But
And thank you again for pursuing all those grants. I mean, that was something we had talked about last year, and you rolled up your sleeves and got it done. I appreciate that, Terry.
thank you.
Along those lines, Terry and I talked about possibly having somebody from the Human Services Commission be a liaison to the Senior Tax Relief Committee. And I think that's a good idea. So when that gets up and running, we'll let you know and work out that kind of schedule. I think that would be beneficial. And I, too, just want to thank you again. The open house you had was fantastic. Everything that we did was fantastic. I really commend you on taking feedback from all of the different town bodies and incorporating it and making it happen, especially getting the students and the community involved in the center. That was one of the real highlights of the day when I was there for your open house, working on the grants, the increased participation. It's so obvious that this has grown so much into such a wonderful program, so thank you.
Well, I have to thank you for the position that you approved. Without Julie and all the other staff, really, we could not have accomplished it.
Good, I'm glad. Somebody else had a question. Representative Georgiadis.
I just wanted to say, Drew Georgiadis, District 9. I volunteer on Thursdays, and it's always incredibly well run. All the people that I encounter at the lunchtime are all smiles on their faces, and the staff is always very helpful. So I think you should be proud of what you've accomplished, and I'm glad the town supports this center. You've done a great job.
There we go. Representative Gerber. Oh, Zezima? Gerber and then Zezima.
Hi, Bill Gerber, District 2. Thank you for your presentation. I'm sorry I came late. You may have answered this already, but how are the sign-in and sign-out cards, or whatever, I forget what they're called,
The FOBs.
Fob. How are they working out for you?
They're working out much better. In fact, the seniors it's really become a routine. So that is a good thing. We were able to track the membership and who's going into what programs. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, so you know when people are here and when they
Yes.
sign out, and there were people sort of
We
sneaking in the
don't know when
back?
they sign out.
Okay.
That is a
okay.
challenge. We know that Mary Smith came in today.
Right.
We don't know when she left. So that there are some things that are not complete.
And I may have missed this, but do you have metrics on visits, on usage of the center, other than number of members?
Yes, I do. And I think, well, our top program at this point is the exercise program, and then but the metrics that you're talking
In
about, I will
terms
send to
of
you.
people coming in,
Yes.
because that might be helpful when someone questions about why the budget's going up. You know, we know you have some very active members and some not so active members, but usage is definitely a key metric for determining why the budget may have to go up.
I will get that to the moderator. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Liz Ozema, District 4. Terry and Julie, thank you. You're doing such extraordinary work here. Where do you see the biggest area of growth that you would project? I mean, other than overall membership, what area, what services that you offer, what programs? I mean, what are you looking at that may start to expand beyond its capacity?
I think probably our extended hours. We're trying to really beef up the Thursday evenings till 8, and that's 8 months of the year. And that's been a challenge to make that a habit for some of the members, but that's continuing to grow. And also Saturday mornings, we're trying to increase the programming there, and not only exercise classes, but educational classes and talks and things, and probably transportation as well, because we'll need more rides back and forth to those off hours.
Thank you.
Representative Lee, then Representative Farnan.
Representative Lee, District 9. Welcome. So my question is, I'm just looking at the bus. I'm curious about the. Oh, sorry. I can't hear anybody else, so I will have to talk loud and set a good example. See, I'm an aspiring senior, so the hearing goes right away. You have a 5-year replacement plan?
Yes.
So you have 5 vehicles?
No, we have the 4,
Okay,
and you have the 3 on the road and the 1 in reserve.
okay. Are you looking to get a new bus each year, or is it kind of a staggered?
Well, this did come up in the budget this year with the first selectman, and it looks as though we have an every other year situation of the replacement bus schedule.
Okay.
So the thought had been that perhaps we should be considering putting 30,000 in each year so that we are ready to be able to keep up with that replacement schedule.
Do you know how many people use the bus?
The bus has 13 seats, including 2 wheelchairs, and they are, for the most part, filled. The reason why some may have 1 or 2, if you see them on the road and they have 1 or 2 in them, would be because of the time it takes for a person to be in that bus while they're going all over town. So
sure.
It's convenience and helping the senior not to have to be there for an hour and a half on a bus. So if they're going up to Greenfield Hill or Tungus Hill, they can have a half an hour ride.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. I'm not feeling contentious about this. I'm curious. And we get a certain amount of this back.
Hopefully, the grant will reimburse us for $30,000.
Okay. The reason I was looking at that is because when I look at the overall budget, and I see it went up in round numbers, $80,000, $60,000 of it is a bus. So we're really not, it isn't like, we're not spending a whole lot of money year over year, with the exception of the vehicles. And I had my, my mother stopped driving, and she was locked in her house. And, I just think that's so important that they're able to come if they can't drive. So I'm definitely in favor of that. Thank you.
I think I answered my own question. I was curious to see if that 13.33% number included the items that were not marked as changed, but based on my calculations, it is included, but I did get my MBA at night, so I think it's okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to make note, for those of us that were on the tour, we were on the bus that needs to be replaced, and it has a giant hole in the floor. So just keep that in mind as you weigh the budget. Thank you very much. Next up, Culture and Recreation, Parks and Recreation. Mr. Lombardo and team.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Page 293, Parks and Rec, 750, then 730 for Penfield, 770 for Waterfront and Marina, 7111 for Carl Dickman Golf Course, and 7113 with H. Smith Richardson Golf Course. Let's start with Parks and Rec. Give us the highlights.
This budget is basically, the Parks and Rec budget is the administration end of all our entities that we operate. The increase is primarily due to the contractual services of payroll and benefits. As you can see, I've reduced certain areas to offset our maintenance and put it all in one account as to where I felt I needed it best, and I wasn't having bits and pieces in one little maintenance account. But other than that, we tried staying as close to the low as possible in that account.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this particular line? Great. Penfield Pavilion Complex, page 289.
Penfield is down 6% this year, a little over 6%. The main reason for that is the restroom trailers. Last year I budgeted for 2. We didn't use 2, and we won't be using 2 this year during the summer. We have 1 trailer over by Jackie Durrell, and then we have Porta-Johns over on the east side. Obviously, with the no amenities there last year or this year, attendance was at a minimum, and so we can get by with the 1 trailer and the Porta-Johns.
Any questions on Penfield? Seeing none. Waterfront and Marina.
This budget has increased approximately 3.5%, and it's mainly due to the salaries of the lifeguards. Minimum wage has gone up, and as I stated last year, we try to make the lifeguards our highest paid summertime people. They do a lot of training, etc. So it's all built into their pay scale, and that's the reason for this increase.
Any questions on Waterfront and Marina? Representative McDermott.
Mark McDermott, District 7. Thank you, Mr. Lombardo, for being here tonight. I just had a question about the marina. How long is the waiting list currently to get a slip in the marina here in Fairfield? And are we really getting enough bang for the buck out of those marinas? Where we stand as far as against other marinas in the area?
2 very good questions. Each dock has its own waiting list. I don't have the exact information in front of me, but I do know that a couple of them are like at least 5 years out. We just increased the rate of the marina fees, 10%. Really, it's really 2% a year because we didn't do it for the last 5 years, and that's basically what we do. The commission has recently put together a subcommittee. made up of commissioner members and voters. and they're looking at, things that may need to be done and recommendations from the voters. And we're also looking at, we're going to be looking at the budget and seeing what we need. When we do the rates, we try to compare them to area marinas. There's a municipal as well as a couple private. Everybody charges differently. Some charge by the foot, or just by the space. So there's different avenues. We try not to be number one. We try not to be number 10. But there's probably always room for improvement if you ask the non-voter. But if you ask the voter, the rates are too high. So, we try to overall cover the expenses that between Public Works and what we have in our budget to make sure that we're covering our costs and bringing revenue into the town.
Thank you. We went a little quickly before. Could I just ask a question about Parks and Rec?
Sure.
Thank you. I think you had here that there are approximately 2,000 soccer players per season. Is that just rec soccer, or does that include all the other programs like FUSA, Premier?
No, that's just recreation soccer.
Okay, you guys signed them up, so I'm sure the numbers are correct, but I coach rec soccer, third grade girls, so, and I hope the field's open tomorrow, right, here at Old Field?
Depends on what field.
Old Field, right here.
Not sure.
It says closed right now, but hopefully, I have practice at 5.
It was closed today.
Yeah, okay. Third grade soccer, rec soccer, there's 4 teams on the girls' side, 16 players per team, so that's 64 kids. So we're going from kindergarten to 8th grade, and I know as we continue through, because I coached my older daughter through 8th grade, we got down to 3 teams, 2 teams, things like that, and I know the boys' side has the same issues, maybe even worse. So I'm curious how that number is 2,000, because it doesn't seem like, if you did the math, it would be 2,000. I know we have a lot of kindergartners start, first and second. I know in second grade we had 11 or 12 for second grade teams. When we went to the fall season, we had 5 left for third grade. So,
well, first of all, I believe it's total year 2000, and I can confirm that number and get back to you, but I believe that that is the correct number.
because it says 4,000, 2,000 per season.
Yeah, I believe that's the correct number.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else on? Yes, Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Mine's a Park and Rec question too, Jerry. From the one of the supplements we got, document 16, it talks about the number of soccer players and the fee that you charge of $45, and you said that that was increased by $10. In the two paragraphs below, you're charging the adult softball players only $25. Can you discuss the discrepancy in why you charge adult soccer players so on a percentage basis so much less than you do the soccer players?
Okay. First of all, the fee that we're charging covers the expense of running the program. We added the $10 because we recently, Public Works Department recently went into a turf management program.
I'm fine with the 45. I'm more curious about the 25.
Well, the 25 is $25 per player, but the total cost of of a team, okay, is because they also pay approximately $1,000 for a team. Okay, they were paying $600-something a team, but the players were never paying anything if they didn't get a sponsor. Okay, so this year, in order to help offset the increase in what we put into the budgets for turf management, we are trying to charge all the leagues. And we started, Little League is already paying, they're charging their people $15 or $25 per player just for maintenance. And they're covering their costs of some of their fields. We started with our men's our adult softball. And then we're going to go to Pop Warner and ask for, a fee for maintenance, youth travel soccer, etc. Because they are getting a better turf to play on, because we're doing so much more than we have in the past of growing a better strain of turf.
No, my question was maybe it should be higher than $25.
Well-
But so you're saying that the league pays $1,000 and every player pays 25, and then with
No,
soccer?
with the $25, we built
Right.
it into their league fee that there'll be 15, they have to have a roster, and everybody on the roster, so they can pay individually per person, or we built it into the fee, which it basically is $375 more a team,
Okay,
okay? That's what we did.
okay, thank
And
you.
I'm getting complaints about the $25. Believe me.
Hold strong, Jerry, hold strong.
Oh.
Exactly.
So.
Anybody else? I want to thank you for looking at all the fees. I know that this is not easy for the commission, and if you could go back and thank them for the time that they've spent and invested on this. I know it's not easy. I know they get a lot of phone calls, and you certainly can't make everybody happy. For every dollar you raise, you get somebody who's complaining and somebody who's happy. So thank you. I think you guys are doing a fair job, and I know you do a lot of research when you look into that, especially on the marina. I know that one was a tough one this year, so thank you.
Thank you.
On to Carl Dickman Golf Course, 7111, page 298.
Carl Dickman, we reduced it by a little over, almost 8%, 7.8%, mainly due to our seasonal payroll. We reduced that. We found that we weren't spending it all. So, if I can't spend it, I'm not going to ask for it. So that's where the reduction came. We held the line, and the other reason is our capital dropped because we only asked one piece of equipment this year.
Excellent. Any questions on the Dickman Golf Course? Seeing none. H. Smith Richardson.
This budget also went down approximately 4.4%. Several reasons it went down. We held the line on a lot of our line items, but we also reduced our full-time employment up there by 2. We transferred those individuals down to the DPW. We increased our seasonal line of part-time people to, and we can do a good job with and consistent work with the part-timers, and we don't have them during the winter months when we really don't need them. As you know, this commission, this board, and Board of Finance over the years has asked how we could reduce golf, of course, operations, and we were looking at outsourcing, but there was really no way to outsource since the town has a no layoff clause for DPW. So everybody that we interviewed, their only savings was they were paying less to maintain the course in labor. So we felt that we could do the same, and it will pay for itself over a couple of years. And then the other item is, as you may know, the town received the Distinguished Golf Course of the Year by the CSGA. We're the first municipal golf course to ever receive that award by the State Golf Association, and it has a lot to do with the maintenance. Peter Grace and his staff this past year, but also the monies that this board, Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, have given us to improve the conditions of the drainage, bunkers, etc. So that was a big help for us. Thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations on your award. I'm not sure that the body's met Mr. Grace before, but we have a lot of new members.
I'm Peter Grace, Golf Course Superintendent for the town of Fairfield.
Thank you very
Glad to
much.
be here.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Congratulations for your award. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Stop.
What's your, and you try to keep it a secret. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Where's the cake?
Nobody brought one, sorry.
Maybe you don't know.
When I was watching the meeting on 3.3, I think, did you say that you increased the fees $1?
Yes, we went up $1.
$1.
And that was a fight.
For the quality of this golf course, and I've played it a lot, and I've played both of them a lot. I quite like the courses and the conditions of them. Could you see in the future that those fees, I mean, $1 is not much. $5 would have been meant something. But I mean, I think we could get more money for that golf course for residents and non-residents. People not like me for saying that, they don't want to pay more for golf, but considering the alternatives,
Yes and no. Okay. When we do our rates, we do look at other public golf courses. We are right in the, we're not number one, we're not number, right. We're right
consistent
there.
with that comment, because I said that about the marina as well.
It is the truth. Particularly with golf. I know more about golf than I do the marina. Okay. However, the non-resident rate, they basically they carry the load, even though they pay less rounds because they're paying more than our residents. Could resident rates go up a little bit more? There's a possibility. Okay, we can always look at it. We do get a lot of feedback when we go to adjust the rates. This year, what we did do, which we anticipate, even though we went up $1, we made Fridays are now a weekend. So our rates are that much more, okay? So it's a weekend rate, which is 20, I don't recall, but it's more than the weekday. And so we anticipate bringing in more revenue there. And Friday is probably the busiest, besides Saturday is the second busiest or first busiest day we have.
It's $29, right?
On a weekend.
On a weekend,
Okay.
without the cart.
Right.
And how much is the cart?
17, I think.
$17?
60 or 17, correct.
Like I said, best bargain around.
Representative
Don't tell all
Gerber.
the golfers that.
Representative Gerber, then Representative McCarthy.
Hi, Jay. Bill Gerber, District 2. Would it be appropriate to look at page 45 and sort of sum up the revenues on 48 and 49? And what I'm getting for your projection next year is about $4,163,000 of revenue. When I add up the costs, it's 3,897 of costs. And the cost here would be fully loaded. That includes yourself, right? And
You're talking about the total budgets, all the
the
budgets.
total
together.
budget. So it looks like it's coming to a net positive of close to 300,000.
Yes, it's.
Okay.
Is he looking something up for you? Is he looking something up for you? Was he looking something up for you?
It's a net
I
positive.
just want to make sure that I'm capturing, when getting a snapshot of your organization, especially on the expense side, that's fully loaded, right, on the...
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, it may not, basically we bring in fully loaded bonding and everything else. We bring in about $600,000 over. But that's including bonding and everything, paying off bonds.
Net,
Yes.
net, okay, yeah,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Representative McCarthy.
Well, Jerry, I think I know the answer to this, but I ask the question every year anyway.
You never ask the question you don't know the answer to.
Maybe, maybe not. How are you in your 10-year revenue plan?
I'm sorry?
The 10-year revenue plan, I mean, I didn't bring it with me, but are you on, I mean...
At the golf course?
Yeah, you know, for the improvements we made, there was a business plan indicating, you know, what the revenues would be with and without the improvements over a 10-year period of time. And I was wondering, are you on plan?
It fluctuates. We're not right on target. The reason I say that is because of weather dependent.
Yep.
You know, in the month, I'll give you an example. This March, we did over 2,000 rounds. Okay. December, I believe we did close to 2,000 rounds or 18, somewhere in that neighborhood. April, we're not moving because it's been so cold and snowy and we've been closed. So it really depends. It's all weather dependent, but I have that information. I just don't have it with me. I did start doing it, but it's not exactly where we wanted to be, but it's close because of the increases that we've been doing. And when we have good weather, we're on target.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Representative Vergara.
Representative Vergara, District 7. I just wanted to clarify Representative Gerber's question. I believe that he was also referencing the profit and loss. So I just wanted to clarify that when you include the bonding amortization and the total unemployment compensation, it's 191,000. It's not 300,000 in the profit, it's 191,000 when you include the bonding amortization.
For all my budgets?
Oh, I'm sorry I thought he was just referencing
No, he was referencing all the budgets.
Okay.
Yes.
I apologize.
Okay.
You had a slight heart attack there.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sure.
I don't have my glasses, but I...
Sorry.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Safety. 4010 Fire, page 210. Chief McCarthy and Deputy Chief Dunn, welcome this evening. How are you both?
Very well. How are you?
Excellent. The floor is yours.
We are very proud to present a very conservative budget with a reduction made by the Board of Finance. We are just about 1.7% increase over the actual for this year. That takes into account the negotiated salary increases that were in arrears for 3 years. We're able to do this and maintain a very high level of service for the community, and we're on track to increase our ability to meet the demands of the community as well as explore new options.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions on the fire department? Representative McCarthy.
Evening, Chief. Capital outlay. This is indirectly related to the apparatus that we discussed earlier this year, which seems to be an orphan on arrival. You know, it's not the apparatus that fully fits your needs. And one of the things I'm concerned about is what's going to become of it. And there was indication before that there is no broker out there who can find a home for it, and we can recover the capital outlay. I understand we need the 2 ladder trucks, and I get that. But this, what has become of this truck, and what are the and what efforts are being made at this point in time to recover the expenditure for this truck?
If we are anything in public safety, we are creative and we're problem solvers. We will use the vehicle that will be delivered to Jennings Road tomorrow. We will assign that to Station 1. It will operate as a heavy rescue. It will carry all the tools and equipment that we need to respond to vehicle and any type of emergency that requires extrication. It will also respond to all structure fires in town carrying a crew of 3 and operating as the backup to the ladder truck. There are a number of residences, or there are a number of facilities in town that are only accessed by ground ladders. It carries a full complement of ground ladders. So we feel that we can get appropriate and valued use out of the vehicle that we own. But I recognize, and the department recognized, the need for a second ladder. We took the opportunity of replacement of a pumper to buy something that is not quite a ladder and an upgrade from a pumper. It's on a shorter frame, single rear axle. It carries all of the equipment that a pumper would carry, but in addition to that, a 75-foot ladder. We're in the process of specifying and developing the bid specs for that vehicle, and that'll give us a good balance of equipment strategically located throughout the town to meet not only the fire pumper needs, the rescue needs, but also our laddering needs.
All right, it seems to me, on the basis of that answer, you're happy with your fleet at this point in time than you were maybe a month ago?
I have found a way to make the best use of the resources that we have.
Okay, so as you say, you're, if nothing else, adaptive.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the fire department? Representative Gerber.
Hi, thank you, Bill Gerber, District 2. You may have said this, I may have missed it, but the overtime increases are a much larger percentage than the regular payroll is mainly due to a catch-up from the contract. But what's driving the overtime?
Let me ask the deputy who did all the analysis on that, but let me introduce that, the subject. We have evaluated where all our expenditures are in our overtime account. You'll see that some have gone down, some have gone up, and that balancing act of the true needs of the department is represented in the increases that are shown there. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Basically, a lot of the high numbers you'll see is because of the 4 years of contractual increases. But other than that, we've just tried to make it a reasonable reflection of our past actual, our past 3 actuals in average.
If you notice, the vacation relief represents a significant reduction. So in the aggregate, that grouping of overtime went up 2.23% in the aggregate. So a very high number came down in vacation relief, and some of the other accounts that are much smaller went up, but their percentage increase is significantly higher. Okay.
Any other questions for the fire department? I have a question. Okay. Who's that? Representative Parham.
Cindy Parham, District 2. On the communication line, it went up $6,000, and I was wondering what that entails.
So there are a number of portable radios. We are and continue to replace portable radios. They are very expensive, $3,500, $4,000 a piece, and occasionally we find ourselves having to replace more than we did in the previous year. And that's a primary part of that increase.
And we were finding that some of our wireless connections to the fire engines, that line wasn't adequately funded. So we're having we had a budget of I think 18,000, and we were getting bills for 2,000 a month. So we just weren't funding that adequately.
Representative McCarthy.
Chief, quickly, at the outset, I think you indicated a 7-point-something increase over last year's actual, this budget?
No, the actual increase this year over well, our increase over this year's actual is 1.69%, and that number was provided by Linda Gardner of the Finance Department. That includes the reduction of $38,000 for an SUV.
All right, that's what I'm missing. Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none. 4150 Emergency Communications.
That's not us.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chief McNamara. $4150 Emergency Communications, page 232. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you very much. And Captain Smith is not here yet, so maybe could I ask that we
Sure,
delay
you want-
ECC if there are any particular questions, as he'd have a probably better detail of it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on the ECC? No, he'll be off the hook anyway.
Okay.
So we'll jump right into 4030 Police, page 216. The floor is
So
yours.
Captain Smith is not here, so could we just skip over, I'm kidding, I'm 100% kidding. So throw Captain Smith under
I
the
have to
proverbial
admit,
bus
you
tonight.
threw me on that one,
I
Gary.
apologize. Just maybe as an overview, just to give those of you who are new to the RTM, we are staffed for 108 police officers. We are currently at 105. We have one, actually we're at 106. We just swore in a new officer who will go to the academy on Friday. He'll go to the police academy in Meriden, and that's really almost a year process to get them from training to field training after they graduate the academy to get them on the road. So although he is a body on our organizational chart, he is not a sworn police officer. So we count him on a salary. We just can't count him for any of the work that he would be able to perform. We are currently in the process of looking to hire more officers. Some of the officers that we're looking to hire currently, who are going to be interviewed next week, are already certified officers, meaning that if we hire them, they don't have to go to the academy. They just have to spend probably 3 to 4 weeks in field training to get used to the town. They're already sworn officers. So obviously you can see the significant savings that we get when we hire certified officers from other locations. So we are currently doing that. So currently we're staffed at 106, though for all intents and purposes we are at 105. Last year we saw our call volume increase probably for the largest amount of calls for service that we've seen since 2002. So our calls are going up there. Last year there were about 44, almost 45,000 calls for service. Kind of just gives you a basic overview of what our department looks like, and then I'll just open it up if there are specific questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief McNamara? Representative McCarthy, and then Representative Ambrose.
Good evening, Chief.
Sir.
I'm looking at capital outlay, 25% increase. I think that represents 10 new police cars.
It does. If you recall, and that increase is due in part, if you recall, last year we asked for 8 police cars, and traditionally, dating way back, our replacement plan was 12 police cars.
Right.
Given the expense of police cars, not only the vehicle themselves, but just to outfit the police cars these days, the price went up so much that we had to modify that plan, and we went back to a 10-car replacement. Last year, we asked for 8 police cars, just given the fact of my car accident, and then the other vehicle was held up as a result of that too. We figured that those 2 police cars were going to come at such a time that we could afford to drop it down to 8 police cars. So rather than ask for the 10, obviously we're conscious of things, we asked for the 8. So that increase is the result of that in that capital line. And in addition to that, I don't have the specifics, but we are asking for some radar units that would go under capital replacement also.
Can you comment on the age of the fleet at this point in time, assuming the addition of these 10 new vehicles?
Well, I can't get into the specifics of the fleet, but just to understand the replacement plan, these vehicles every year go into the frontline patrol vehicles. So these vehicles will go into the front line. Those frontline cars, meaning the cars that are on the road 24 hours a day, will then bump down to the secondary vehicles. And by secondary, they're not necessarily cars that just sit in the lot. They're cars that our traffic unit utilized on a daily basis, our accident cars utilize on a daily basis, our school unit now has vehicles that they utilize also. And then those trickle down to vehicles ultimately pushing their way out a replacement. So when we get these 10 vehicles, there will be 10 vehicles that will be dispersed throughout the town. In fact, we had a meeting on the needs of the town, other town departments. Our vehicles, when we push them out, are still functional vehicles. They're just not functional for emergency vehicles. So we have a plan in place where these 10 cars that are now have cycled out of the police department will now cycle into other town departments.
And what's the average age of a first line car?
Every year we get new frontline cars.
Okay, and how does that compare with other police departments of equal size? Is that
It depends. I mean, it's all over the map with regards to replacement plans for different vehicles. I think what we found was that keeping our replacement plan in place is much more fiscally responsible than waiting and not replacing the vehicles. From a financial perspective, you've seen other departments that don't replace their vehicles on a regular basis, and then ultimately they're playing catch up to try and replace those vehicles. Not only that, but these vehicles do operate 24 hours a day, specifically our replacement vehicles. So from the perspective of officer safety, and as well as just the response of the vehicles, it's important, I believe it's important that we have that consistent replacement plan.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chief. Chief, line item 51050, overtime earnings. Being a 51% increase in that line item, do you anticipate with the employment of the new officers coming from other forces that figure there will be a significant reduction in that figure next year?
If you're looking at there is a revised budget. So if you're looking at that 51% in the budget book,
yes,
I don't think that takes into account the settlement of the contracts, so that money was dumped back in. So although you'll see a 51% increase in overtime, it's not necessarily accurate.
It's to supplement what we picked up as a result of the contract negotiations?
Exactly. So if you looked at that line item now, the percentage of that line item is really 2.49. It's 5150,
yeah.
51050. That would really be a 2.49% increase from the adjusted or revised budget as a result of settling the contracts.
Thank you for that explanation.
Anyone else have any questions for the police department? Representative Gerber and then Representative Zezima.
Hi, Chief. Bill Gerber, District 2. You mentioned an increase in call volume. Can you describe, or do you have a sense for what the increase is related to? Is it general, everything across the board, or traffic issues, or?
Yeah, it's I have it broken down. We do an annual report every year. This year's annual report is not released yet, but we do kind of break it down with what the variety of calls. It's very difficult to say right now what that specific increase would be related to. Those are the calls for service. Those are the calls that officers will generate a file for. That's not to say all interactions. There's many more interactions that our officers have than the 44,000 calls for service, and significantly more calls to our dispatch center. So while 44,000 times officers were dispatched to locations or they had self-generated calls. So if our officer stops a motor vehicle, that's included in that 44,000. And if somebody calls for the police and we respond, that's in that 44,000 too. Daily interactions that may occur are not included in that. And then all the calls for our dispatch center, where if somebody might call for directions or might be referred to other departments, those aren't included in there either. So very difficult to say what's driving those higher calls for service. I do know that our motor vehicle activity has increased, so that would be a little bit of an increase to that. And then I would suspect, just not specific, but just I think that the needs of the community are increasing, and people are calling us for a variety of different reasons.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, it's real useful to understand as we grow as a town, continually grow as a town, what the costs of that are, and are changing, and, it could be many different ways, what the costs of that is, but thank you.
Yeah, and forgive me, I just wouldn't be able to break it down. I mean, at some point, I think that's a good question to kind of find out what's driving those calls up. I can tell you just roughly, and I kind of said this at one of the other meetings, we are seeing a decrease in crime. And just kind of an overview, last year we saw a 42% decrease, hang on a second, 42% decrease in larcenies, a decrease in motor vehicle thefts, a decrease in burglaries, a decrease in assaults, robberies, and vandalism saw a decrease also. So now, while that is a positive, one burglary is too many. So if you are the victim of a burglary, that's pretty significant, and we treat that significant. But however, we are having an impact in seeing crime go down. So while the increase in calls for service are going up, it's not related to an increase in crime. Statistically, that's what we're showing, is that crime is going down. There are some areas where crime has increased. We saw sexual violations increase. We believe that is the result of some activity that we did regarding some sexual violators that we've since arrested.
Good evening, Chief. Liz Ezema, District 4, and I just want to thank you for the extraordinary force under your command. Couple of questions. One is, do you find that with hiring this pre-certified officers, is there higher turnover?
Higher turnover for us?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that the indications are that we have hired several certified officers, meaning that they are in other locations, other departments within the state, and for whatever reason, and there's a variety of reasons, they've applied to our department to come work at our department. So I think that maybe other departments are seeing a higher turnover, but we are seeing that there are officers that are certified already working for other locations that have a desire to come here.
And then the retention is...
And the retention is pretty good. Maybe several years ago, we saw several officers leave. We had an officer who transferred to another department, an officer who went into the military, decided to do that rather than pursue law enforcement. But generally speaking, when officers are here, I think we find overall that they are staying. We are seeing now that there are officers who have reached their 30 years who are retiring. We anticipate 3 retirements come July. So while I say we're staffed at 106, one of those 106 going to the academy on Friday, we do anticipate 3 retirements, which will put us at 103. One of the reasons we are continuing to interview some of these certified officers next week to kind of bring our ranks up to full staff.
Great, thanks. The item, I missed this in the meeting, and I apologize. The line item about education and memberships, just remind me what that consists of. The 100% increase.
Contractually, our officers, if they pursue a bachelor's degree, we do pay for that bachelor's degree, and it's a very unpredictable line item. So what we have found is that there are many more officers that are currently enrolled in their bachelor's degree, and so we felt that it was important to increase it by that $20,000. It's not science, so there is the chance that we might not get that. There is the chance that we might go over that, but generally speaking, I think it's a pretty good number to say that given what we see right now with officers right now pursuing their bachelor's degree, we're likely to hit that number.
Great. And the last one, Madam Moderator, do we know if there's a tour scheduled yet for the police department?
I know the chairman of the Public Health and Safety Committee was working on it. I see the vice chairman. I don't know if she's aware if anything's been set up.
Nothing has been set up to my knowledge as of yet.
Okay. We'll be reaching out to you if you don't.
Yeah, I would encourage you. I think it's great to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Representative Ambrose, did you have a question?
In certain types of criminal activities. It's obviously it's on the horizon of most newspapers of the increase in opiate use in Fairfield County and in the Northeast. And I'm just wondering whether or not you have any police officers training, or you have any particular that I would think would be a concern in our community and has been a concern in our community. Is that being addressed by any particular section of the police department?
Well, you know, our detective bureau regularly conducts narcotics investigations, and we have had over the past year some arrests for heroin. We've also had our patrol officers respond to people who have found themselves in crisis as a result of using heroin. So we are actively doing investigations when it comes to heroin, sale of heroin, and the sale of other narcotics in town.
And what about prescription drugs? I mean,
Sure, prescription drugs too. I think we made an arrest yesterday or the day before yesterday. Somebody, believe it or not, still trying to forge a prescription. So we do have those investigations also. Obviously, when we start talking about opioids and the different pathways to heroin abuse, we are very conscious of the prescription drugs being one of those pathways. And we've held some meetings on it, some discussions, some community discussions on it. I think that our stance on it is that we are not going to arrest our way out of the heroin abuse issue. We certainly are pursuing those people that are dealing in heroin. And at the same time, we're exploring different options. I think that our community, like other communities, are going to have to use a lot of different resources, not only the police, but Department of Health and others to kind of come up with the right solution to the opioid problem. But we are talking about it. We are trying to find the right fit for the town of Fairfield. There are other departments around the country trying unique approaches to the issue, but it's certainly something that is on our radar.
Thank you.
Representative Lee.
Representative Lee, District 9. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
I was interested when you said you have anticipating some requirements. Is that going to drive overtime for you guys? Is that a concern? Is losing 3 people a big hit, I guess is my question.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that, having 3 vacancies certainly challenges our organization. But I think what we've consistently shown over time is that we budget kind of appropriately for those contingencies. And I think that I'm hoping, and I'm pretty confident that these interviews are going to get us some certified officers, that the time in between that is not going to be significant to impact the budget.
That was kind of like the Board of Ed, when you know that you're budgeting for, you know a certain number of people leave, you're budgeting for that contingency. So that's kind of built in here?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I don't think that there's going to be any concern I have with the budget and how those 3 vacancies are going to impact the budget.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next up, Public Works. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good evening. Joseph Michelangelo, Director of Public Works. And I'll introduce the gentleman with me, Ed Bowman, the Assistant Director of Public Works, Scott Bartlett, Superintendent of Public Works, and Mike Zimbruski, Director of Solid Waste and Recycling. I'll just give a quick intro. And I know we're going to go through line by line in the different tabs or department by department, but just to give an overview of what Public Works does. And normally in most municipalities you think of Public Works, you think of roads. In Fairfield, we We're a lot more widespread than that, and I'll just touch on some of the areas. In addition to the streets and sidewalks and parking lots, as Pam mentioned, this is one of the buildings we maintain, in addition to about 70 other buildings. So town buildings, the utilities, the grounds around utilities, the soccer field behind there is maintained by Public Works, soccer fields, baseball fields, athletic fields all over town. When we talk about parks and recreations, well, Jerry Lombardo does a great job in the programming end of it, but the actual fields are maintained by the Public Works Department, and we have a great collaborative relationship. The vehicle repairs, fleet maintenance, both for their town departments and both for our Public Works vehicles and other town departments, excepting the PD and fire. Our tree program, snow and ice, marine is maintained by our workers. The beaches are maintained by our workers, in addition to in-kind services to other departments like P&Z and alike. So when you look at the town of Fairfield as a whole, the only physical services that aren't performed by Public Works are the greens and fairways on the golf courses and the conservation open space lands, but we do work in conjunction with those departments all the time. Just talk about some of the main drivers to this budget. Public Works, a large part of it is maintaining our roadway. So between two different accounts, $3.75 million dedicated to our roads itself, both paving and various maintenance, asphalt maintenance programs. Just a little history, that was formerly in a blend between capital and operating budget. It's been transitioned to operating budget, so that's the money we get for maintaining our roads, no separate capital appropriations. Similarly with our trucks, we've gone through it over the years, and the philosophy now is to move all the large capital trucks over 100,000 to the operating budget. So we had one approved in capital earlier this year. There are 3 large capital requests, capital trucks over 100,000, which you see here. So that's some of the drivers. And one thing we've been, and you probably noticed, one thing we've been doing over the years is, Mr. Lombardo mentioned our turf management program, our approach on our athletic fields. So a couple of things, we do contract out more work. It gives us more flexibility in time-wise and personnel. We could go out there and address a field at 5 o'clock at night because the contractor is a performance-based contract. So with that, that is going up, but we feel it's cost-effective and the quality of our fields has improved. And one thing that is beginning to show, you'll notice in this year's budget too, we're able to reduce, we had 2 vacancies in our Public Works Department this year. We planned long and hard about it, but one of the things we did is not fund these positions, so you can see in this budget there's a decrease of 2 people who will be working at our Public Works garage. And it's not shown in this budget, but all the ancillary costs of benefits and medicals that goes along with an employee are realized in other departments, not shown here. So that was just a quick overview I wanted to give on Public Works and what we do.
Thank you. Questions for Public Works? Representative Newberger.
Ray Newberger, District 6. Joe, I'm just curious, are there more opportunities in the future for us to branch out and contract out more services, or do you think we're kind of tapped? What's your feeling on that?
Well, right now I think we've maximized it, but Scott Bartlett is the, he's the one who physically manages 70 people down at the facility at Richard Wright Way. So a lot of this was his.
The short answer, thank you. This is smooth. I got it. I got it. Thank you. The short answer is we look at everything we do, and the reality is we feel if we can contract it out better, we're going to outsource it. If we feel we can do it better in-house, based on the numbers, we'll do it in-house. I don't know that we have a magic number year by year. We look at the true cost and evaluate it from there. I would say, though, in the last decade, we're down 8 people in the Public Works operation. That's why there's a spike in contractual services over that same decade.
Right. Great, appreciate it.
Representative Tallman.
Hi, guys. Peter Tallman, District 8. Thanks for the tour, Scott. Very well worth it. A question for the paving, which I know is one of your favorite subjects. You know very much about it. There was a question brought up at one of the meetings because of the cost of asphalt coming down. And I know we are behind. We're playing catch up. Like, that's a word I've heard in the last few months more than my entire life, catch up. And I don't mean mustard. But in simple terms, for the budget of 3.3 for the main paving, what is the percentage of materials versus labor? Is it 80%? Is it 20%? Are we talking about a big dollar volume here? I mean, it's big anyway, but how big?
We do a variety of paving. Years ago, it was mill and fill. Everything in the road industry was you milled out a couple inches and you paved the road. Today, we do a lot more with maintenance. So when you ask like a question about the material, we're doing probably 12 or 15 procedures annually, and a lot of them is a square unit pricing of labor and material to resurface that road. I'd like the time to get back to you with a specific based on our paving plan. I can carve out the materials for each process and answer it more clearly that way.
I imagine the repairs is not going to use nearly as much material. It's not like you're paving an entire road. So even if you just focused on the one big budget of the 3.348, and that might be just give you a bigger number, like 80% of this is material, that's a lot of asphalt, and you know, maybe it's something we could look at.
Yeah, again, I'll give you a real number. I don't think it's going to be as high as 80%, though. All those activities include the labor of the contracted service coming in.
It might be 20, it might be the opposite, and we're not looking at that much money, but that'd be helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Anybody else? Representative Gerber?
Hey, Joe. Bill Gerber, District 2. Did you get one of your trucks cut? What's the status of that?
One of our six-wheel dump trucks was reduced at the Board of Selectmen level, but it was restored at the Board of Finance level. At the Board of Finance level, there was there's 3 trucks that were proposed for $38,000 pickup type trucks with plows. So one of those got reduced, so there's 2 of those in the budget and 1 got cut.
So the $38,000 truck, will that be in the budget next year, or I guess it's not a big number?
Most likely, once again, next year we'll prioritize. But yeah, we take it year by year. But we requested 3 for a reason. We do, and one of the things about those trucks, we've been transitioning our foremen from driving SUV type trucks to pickup trucks. We feel it's a better way to do their work. They could plow, they could run things around better. So that's a transition that we were making, but for this year there'll be one of the foremen in a SUV as opposed to a new pickup truck.
Okay, thanks.
Representative McCarthy?
Let me follow up on 2 subjects that already came up. First of all, paving. Scott, could you assign or give me a sense of the number of miles that this increase represents? And of course, you know, as Representative Tallman alluded to, you know, from the outside looking in, we assume petroleum-based products coming down, we get more asphalt. But some percentage of this is, well, I'm trying to fully understand what this represents. At some level, there's some degree of micro-sealing going on, some degree of crack filling, and some of the traditional milling and filling. And that, once upon a time, I recall that magic number is 13 miles. So how does that break out? And does this higher? I mean, I'm making the assumption that we're going to get more miles of road as a result of this budget of 7% increase. Can you give me quantify in terms of miles of paving this year relative to last year?
Yes. we evaluate paving differently today than we did years ago. Years ago, the former director and myself had a plan in terms of so many miles of asphalt, and it was going to be like 13 miles of roads repaved. But the new matrix, and this is the industry standard, we evaluate how many miles are in our network, so that's 275 miles of road. But we then made an equation in terms of our parking lots, using a 30-foot width for an average, how many miles that added to the network, and that pumped our miles up to 288 miles. And the goal is to surface with these various treatments. So I'm going to say that a chip seal is 5-year rated. If we're going to do 10 miles and it's rated to last 5 years, we're going to take that matrix of 10 miles of road times 5 years and introduce 50 years of service life towards our 288 miles in network. So our annual goal is to resurface the full 288 miles. On a lean year, we'll do 250 or 260. On a good year, we might do 300, 310 miles. But that's our annual goal. I can release the paving plan for you with the procedures that show and tie it into our annual amount of miles we have in the network.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm prepared to get that level of detail, but I know you know it. So I'm just, okay, 288 is a new magic number at one level or other of process. And does this represent an increase of mileage over the prior year?
I would say due to pricing, it could be an increase in miles, yes.
Okay.
Due to the current pricing of the materials, it could be an increase, yes.
Okay, well, I guess I'm looking for bang for the buck. I'm spending more bucks, I want more bang, so I'm hoping that's the answer I'm trying to tease out of you.
Well, and again, part of our new pavement maintenance strategy is taking the right road at the right time and giving it the right treatment. What we're trying to avoid, and the mistakes the industry made years ago, everybody came in and we did the expensive asphalt and we said, you know what, it's going to last 20 years, we can walk away. Well, the truth is it doesn't last 20 years, and we were spending a lot of money and not maintaining it. So today we might only pave 10 miles, but what we're doing is a lot more miles of maintenance to get the 10 miles that we paved over the last few years maintained to last longer. It's all about service life today.
Okay. One other question, and this relates back to outsourced services. Can you show me, actually, you recall we had this discussion last year, where I was looking for an offset where we, how we save money elsewhere by an increase in contracted services. And at that time, it appeared more wash, but your explanation is over time, we're going to see more of a cost saving. So where do I see this year at least an offset or hopefully a savings?
Well, keep in mind, 2 people got cut, and you certainly wouldn't be cutting 2 full-time people if we weren't able to get the work done with contractors. So I think the biggest offset is there. Okay. You're eliminating 2 pensions, 401ks, you're eliminating health benefits, eliminating all that. The other small cuts are special departmental supplies went down $11,000, which piggybacks last year's reduction of $61,000. So there's a $72,000 delta in 2 years, and that was directly related to sod replacement and things that we would do in in-house crews that is now all privatized. In fact, we really don't even resod. We are trying to grow a better turf and stay out of the resodding cost, similar to our road treatments.
Okay, and when you have agreements with outsourcing, does that involve use of materials, of DPW materials, or do they provide their own materials? How does that typically work?
We felt it was in the town's best interest because we wanted to control the quality of the materials. For a simple thing, if you put in a topsoil and say to a contractor, go out and topsoil 5 yards on a particular field, you might get a range of quality of materials. So we supply all the materials. We feel we're not paying a markup. We feel we're monitoring directly the quality of the materials we get. So the short answer is we supply the materials as that bid.
Okay, thank you.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Thanks for the tour. It was great. I'm enjoying being on your committee. I have been to all of your meetings, and I wanted to say how extremely impressed I am with the knowledge that you all possess, the access you have to the numbers, the figures, short-term goals, long-term goals. It seems to be at your fingertips, so we're very lucky to have all of you guys working for the town of Fairfield, considering the size of this budget. I have one question, and it's more anecdotal. I know I've spoken to you about asphalt sidewalks versus cement, asphalt curbs versus cement, and especially around some of the new drains in my District 9, the asphalt that ties up to those incredibly big cement drains always seem to be gone by the end of the snow season. So given the plowing and the cost of those, is it cost efficient to continue to use asphalt to abut those drains, or is it just not a big deal because it's not a lot of material or time or labor?
I do feel it's appropriate to use asphalt given the style of the top. We'll back it up to the original thing, which is in the flood-prone areas, we have to have a curb inlet so that if the leaves block the physical grate, the water can then still get in what we consider the throat of the catch basin. So now we're left with that being a 45-degree slant top, and we feel that's more friendly for motorists, but then that ties into the asphalt piece versus a concrete piece. If it was concrete, it would be a straight or a 90-degree angle. But we feel, and we'll get more complaints over residents hitting that than they will the 45-degree top that the asphalt allows us. Unfortunately, even the concrete gets blown out by the plows in a particularly bad, storm. This year was interesting because a lot of people said, you guys had it made, it wasn't a bad winter. Well, the reality is we had it made in some aspects in terms of the amount of times we rolled, but we didn't have frost, so we have more shoulder damage out on our network of streets than we had in other years because the ground was frozen. So the same trucks would go down the road, and if the guy made a mistake, he would drive over frozen ground and there would be no damage. This year with no frost, we got 6 inches of snow, and guess what? The truck goes a little off the road, and we buy 300 feet of real estate. So it's interesting. It was a bad winter in some regards and not in others. But unfortunately, a long answer. I think it's appropriate to use the asphalt. It's safer for the residents.
And one last question about asphalt sidewalks versus cement sidewalks. I'm working on a project with the police department regarding, school safety and traffic, and there seems to be a lot of complaint about the asphalt sidewalks and the use of scooters and bicycles and safety. Do you take that into consideration when you choose to do an asphalt sidewalk versus cement, if there's going to be a lot of bike traffic or scooter traffic around, in highly pedestrian areas?
Short answer, no. Technically, it's tied into the zoning regulations. The regulations will dictate whether we put asphalt or concrete. When we break the zoning code, it's for a practical reason. If we have like an old mature tree that's buckling tree roots, even if it calls for concrete, the way concrete would work as the tree continues to expand, it raises the entire panel. So it's a 4-foot wide sidewalk. The entire concrete slab raises with the tree growth and creates a tripping hazard. So the asphalt, although not cosmetically friendly, is the right approach there because it will not allow that 1-inch tripping hazard to generate across the 4-foot width. So it's generated mostly from zoning, secondarily safety. I'm not so sure why somebody would feel an asphalt surface isn't as adequate as concrete other than the cosmetics, because performance-wise, if it's done properly, they should both be as smooth.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Ambrose and Representative Dean.
Rather mild temperatures we've had, what do you anticipate to be left in our snow budget available for other uses?
Not as much as you think.
Do you have any idea?
Again, it wasn't even that it was a bad year, but we have had a pretty conservative snow budget because the principle was that we didn't want to overtax residents and make an extremely large budget and then not expend it. then obviously we got hit with some aggressive years of snow. I do have the form with me that I can give you the exact to-date cost, but I just don't know the number. I'll email it to you.
Would you have that? That'd
I
be
will,
fine, thank you.
definitely.
Yeah, would that cover my mailbox that got knocked over by a snowplow?
Probably not.
I'm not going to send you the bill anyway.
Keep in mind, that wasn't our drivers, that was the slush coming off the blade that hit the mailbox.
Representative Dean.
Representative Dean, District 3, thank you very much for taking care of our roads and sidewalks and whatnot. I've been schooled tonight. I had no idea what dictated whether it was asphalt or concrete. Frankly, I don't care which one you use as long as you use something. And that leads me to my question. I would be remiss if I didn't ask the question my husband pounded on tonight at the dinner table, and that is, when will the sidewalk on Stilson Road from particularly my home to Black Rock Turnpike be replaced? It's heaved, it's a mess. We have a lot of pedestrian traffic every single day and has increased dramatically since probably about 2009, 2010. So you have an idea of the time frame of when Stilson Road will be on our side and the other side will be replaced?
No, but no.
That's not the answer I'm looking for.
Survey, no, we did an aggressive survey. Our engineering department handled a beautiful survey, and what they've done is they've prorated all the sidewalks throughout town in terms of their condition and what needed replacing in the next year, what's going to need replacing in 2 years, and that's a 5-year plan. So I believe I can look into that plan, forward that plan, and answer your question, but I don't know the answer sitting here tonight.
But we do program, I think it's 80,000 or 100,000 for sidewalks in this operating budget. So one of the good things about asphalt, it is more cost effective. So we could do more linear feet of sidewalk replacement with, replacing it in kind with asphalt than concrete. Concrete's probably four times more expensive than the asphalt sidewalk. So.
Okay, I know that we have actually filled the cracks, or my husband has. I did nothing but bring him water, but with asphalt covering and sealing, and to help preserve it for a little while longer. But there's the corner of Mayfair and Stilson. There's a beautiful tree that is growing, and Rich White had already had that replaced, or the asphalt repaired and whatnot, but the tree continues to heave because it grows, and I see walkers having to go on to the owner's front lawn in order to pass it safely, and it's not really fair to the homeowner as well. So it's something I want you to be aware of that's happening right now. And thank you.
Perhaps now's a good time to tell everyone about your citizen service link on the website, service request.
It's probably implemented about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. So it's Q Alert. It's like a 311 system. So it's a great tool for tracking. So residents or RTM members could enter it right through the website, enter your complaint, pictures, descriptions, and even our internal calls that we get. Everything is tracked through the Q Alert system. So one of the good tools for us is that nothing, like the old pink pads where somebody wrote a note, nothing gets lost. It's in the system. We get constant reminders. So if it's not addressed, you get a reminder once every week. And we have 100-person department, so it's good to track not only the inquiries, the complaints, but track how well our people get rid of them too.
This is pretty awesome. They come right away. Anybody else? Representative Lee.
So a question for Mr. Bartlett, but first a comment. We've been waiting 53 years for our sidewalk, Mr. Bartlett. I want you to get on it. When is the last budget year that paving was not cut? Do you even remember?
No.
This is a pet peeve of mine. Every single year, when we're looking for something to cut, because we have to cut something or we're not doing our job, we cut paving. Sooner or later, we had to pave. I'm glad to see real money in paving. Well done.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come for tours? We're open 7 days a week. Oh, I should just brag for 1 minute. Department of Public Works is in a magazine article. Connecticut Association of Street and Highway Officials puts out a magazine twice a year called Highways and Byways. Town of Fairfield DPW is the spotlight community. 152 of the 169 municipalities subscribe to this magazine. We're pretty proud of it. It's coming out. I'll get you all copies if you want them.
Well done. Okay. Congratulations. We'll all be waiting for the calendar edition. All right. What do we have left? Oh, WPCA, yes, you're right, I'm sorry. You know what, I never... the other item that we all need to discuss is to consider the self-supporting funds and the amount to be determined by the Board of Finance for the Water Pollution Control Authority for the fiscal year July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. So we are now on WPCA, which is self-supported, page 323. Thank you.
And just a quick introduction to the town. We have our wastewater treatment plant on Richard White Way on your way into our town garage. It's a 9 million gallon a day facility, approximately 200 miles of line throughout Fairfield, about 16,000 properties served. Our 20-year superintendent at our wastewater plant left last June. We were fortunate to get Bill Norton to come to our community. Started in July, so this is his first go-round on the operating budget. So Bill Norton's been a good addition to our staff, to our town. And any questions on this budget? This budget has been approved by the Water Pollution Control Authority. We ran it by him beforehand, had some questions, some revisions, and that's where it is today.
Anybody have any questions on WPCA? Excellent. Seeing none?
Thank you.
We're all set. Thank you all very much for being here. That concludes tonight's meeting, but before you all start jumping up and down, tomorrow we will meet on Culture and Recreation. We'll hear from the only nonprofit that was requested by members to be here is Pequot Library, so they will be here. The main library will be here, and at 7:45 they do not have PowerPoint capability in this room, so this evening when I get home, I will forward to you the PowerPoint presentation from the superintendent. You may either print it out or bring a laptop to follow along. He's going to do an abbreviated version. We've all been following along with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance meetings. We've seen the presentation anyway, but I just want to let you know and be on the lookout for that email from me later this evening. And if you could all just return your place cards, we will stand in recess until tomorrow. Thank you.